Okay, sports fans, the Big D is back and ready as we hit a unique episode this evening. Before I bring in Jacob, please subscribe, like, and share the Smoky Spectrum Sports YouTube page where it might be football season, but I'm open to any conversation. Also, check out the Big D podcast for audio listeners, Spotify and Apple. So, joining us, the biggest Rob Refsnyder fan I know from Queen's University, which is actually a rival of my FGCU Eagles, Jacob Wright. So, Jacob, maybe I should have brought out the FGCU shirt just to annoy you, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for having me on the show, Dylan. It's an honor.
Yeah. So, Jacob does all kinds of games. He and I actually have known each other a couple years. We walked spring training together with the Boston Red Sox in Fort Myers, and then the 22-23 season where the Florida Everblades won another Kelly Cup. The Cup. Jake did like um, punching, replay, and camera, and I basically did replay the whole game. And then with the Red Sox, you did stats, right?
I did stats, or I was doing audio for the whole ballpark.
Yeah, and I was the ANC guy. Actually, this year our producer had Keaton and me doing stats basically all year.
Oh, nice. Did you enjoy it?
Oh yeah, especially because I'm the one journalist who likes math.
Yes.
So what led you to try a career in sports?
I mean, like a lot of us growing up, I was glued to the television watching Sports Center every morning. It's basically how I woke up. I wasn't a not too much of a breakfast guy, but I would wake up at 6 o'clock and watch the entire Sports Center hour. It was typically the rerun from LA with good old Neil Greenwright and who else? I can't remember his name. But it was Stan Verrett, that's right. He was both legends, and I used to watch that show. And then at 6:50 was when my bus ride hit. So for those that know the format well, that's when top 10 hit. So top 10 would hit. I would see the number one play, and then I would run to catch the bus that was halfway down the street.
Yeah, I mean that was back in the days where Sports Center was really good. It was really cool. I mean, the late Stuart Scott, cool as the other side of the pillow.
Yes, absolutely. You're Dylan. I think you're cooler than the other side of the pillow.
Thank you. But like, what's your earliest sports memory that you have?
A lot of my early sports memories. So I was born and raised in Syracuse, New York. So I'm a big Orange supporter. I bleed orange. And a lot of my early sports memories are just Syracuse basketball in a nutshell. Just the good old Boeheim years. I was a little too young for the national championship to remember it, but the guys I remember are like Jerry McNamara, Johnny Flynn. AO was a big player for us. So a lot of those memories, but it's funny. The earliest memory I can really think of was when we lost to Cleveland State in a random non-conference game on a 75-foot buzzer beater. This man inbounded the ball, and he threw it as a baseball, and it somehow went in, and the dome was silent. And it was funny because my stepdad got tickets from work that day, and he was forever banned from getting tickets at work ever again because Syracuse lost that game. So there's that memory, and then a good memory is when Syracuse and Louisville were facing each other. I think it was the first game at the Yum Center way back in the day. It was like 1 versus 5, and we had Michael Carter Williams as our point guard. Stole a ball, went coast to coast, dunked, landed on his face, and we won the game.
Yeah, that was back in the days where Syracuse was really good in basketball. By the way, I think that was like the Cleveland State play was like December of 2008.
That sounds about right. Yeah, it was. I think Norris Cole was on the team, but I don't think he was on the floor yet. I don't know if he was starting yet. But he was like the only guy that come from Cleveland State basketball, but I'm pretty sure he was on the roster at that time.
Yeah, then he ended. Yeah, first round pick by the Heatles. I think he was a first round pick by the. Actually, first round pick by the Bulls. Ended up with the Miami Heat, so he was part of the D Wade, LeBron, Chris Bosh Heatles teams.
Yeah, there's a very famous moment where like Norris Cole's getting yelled at by LeBron, D Wade, and Bosh in like the playoffs or something. It was like Mario Chalmers esque because I think he was Mario's backup.
Yeah, by the way, Cole averaged 21.7 points as a senior at Cleveland State. So maybe it helped. Maybe it helped that that Cole played 4 years of college. Which more guys did that now, but they only play 4 hours, right?
Oh yeah.
So, I mean, did you have did you have any dreams of sports? I mean, we all try and be Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, but did you have like any dreams of like a profession in sports?
Yeah, I've always wanted to work in sports ever since I was 7, 8 years old. It was one of those that I wanted to be a professional soccer player and then go into broadcasting like everyone else does. So when I was forced to retire at 12 years old from soccer, I went straight into broadcasting like every great soccer player does. And you know, my junior high that I went to had a very souped up a not control room, but like stage production. You know, we had theater and talent show every year, so we had full 4 camera setups. We did a live stream and all that. And this is like 2009, 2010. So very like we were still recording on tape, believe it or not. Like it wasn't fully live streamed. Like it would be in the arena, but it would not be. We had to literally download the footage from each camera in real time. So after a talent show that's like 3 hours long, we would spend maybe 2 to 3 weeks just ingesting video because it would need to be recorded in live time from these camcorders. So after that, I transferred high schools to a small Catholic school in New York or in Syracuse. Got in broadcasting there, and that was my first job in sports. Really, was working at 16 for the AAA baseball team at the time, the Syracuse Chiefs, now the Mets. And I worked there 5 years while I was going to college at Ithaca, and sports never stopped for me. I'm very happy. I spent some time in the local news. Maybe Dylan knows that from my time working with him, but after a year or so and covering a Category 5 hurricane, I kind of realized that, yeah, sports don't kill the people in the truck usually, So, having those types of moments and, to go back to your original question of, having a professional like aspirations and dreams, I always wanted to work the biggest shows and do the biggest things. And over time, it's just how a lot of people's priorities change just with life events and, who they meet in life and their experiences overall. It's kind of transitioned to wanting to become more of an educator, wanting to pass it on to the younger people below me, and just be a good mentor to others while also putting on a high quality product. So it's one of those. I thought I would love to travel, and then traveling as much as I did, I really didn't like traveling and being in airports all the time and eating Auntie Anne's pretzels all the time. So, finding a job where I can just go to the office every day is like, life just changes. You make adjustments to it.
Yeah, and it's funny how sports changes over time because thinking of like how games would be on tape delayed and now going from where we have VHS tapes where you could actually live stream a game and watch it on Twitch, you could watch it on Netflix, you could watch it on any YouTube, whatever streaming platform you want.
Not even that. You can watch more than one game at a time. That was unheard of back when we were growing up. These kids are spoiled, especially March Madness. Like, they have no idea the hell we went through having to watch one game on CBS at a time.
Oh gosh. Actually, True. I think the 2003 March Madness started the same day that the U.S. invaded Iraq.
Oh, really? That's a very unique parallel.
That's all I want to discuss about that day. But now you can watch games on CBS, TBS, True TV, TNT, so you can hear four different games and once you hear multitude of broadcasters games morning, noon, and night.
Yes, they typically will do 4 games in a day, which is just insane. But I've been there. I have done that, so it's not. It's very fun and rewarding, but at the same time, you kind of lose your marbles very quickly.
How the heck can you do four games in a day as a production crew
Well, a lot of Red Bull and Domino's pizza.
and coffee?
I had the pleasure of directing the Big South men's and women's basketball tournament this year. I did all the non-play-in games and games that were not on the ESPN mothership. So all games that aired on ESPN Plus that were not playing games, I was in charge of directing. So I believe it was 2 days and it was 4 games on both days that we did. And it was the entire crew, never changed from all the cam ops. Like they're the only ones that kind of changed because they would swap where they were on the floor or the arena. So like they weren't wearing a camera on their shoulder for 12 hours, right? But audio was the same person, graphics was the same person. The only person that was different was the producer. They would do 2 games each.
Yeah, and I'm guessing the floor cams would switch like every other game, right?
We would do every game typically, just
No, I
because.
mean would the floor camera ops switch after every game, or would they just be there the whole time?
Well, they would rotate upstairs and work, maybe the main game camera or, the tight follow replay. So that's the best part of like these guys down here. They're just next level, the level of professionalism and execution that these guys deliver that tournament. And they also stayed on and did the main games on ESPN, the championship finals. So they're A1 sauce, gold star, 5-star, whatever you want to put it, Dylan. Big Dippin' Dots bowl for those people.
I knew you would mention Dippin' Dots because if you know me, what's my favorite food around ballparks?
Oh, it's the ice cream of the future, Dylan.
By the way, when I went on vacation to Springfield, Illinois last month, I actually ate I got some Dippin' Dots and sent our buddy Ted Fitzgeorge a picture. So, I mean, you mentioned news. How long were you in news when you lived in Southwest Florida? How long were you in news?
I think I did like overall a year and 3 months. I started August 21, and then I finished at New Year's 2023. I worked at 2 stations, which and is also unique. It's not the case anymore, but it was very unique at the time that they were both independently owned. I'm not sure how much our audience knows this, but a lot of news networks, like your local station, wherever you're listening from, is typically owned by one of the 4 big media companies. And these 2 stations were very unique in that they were independently owned by families. Unfortunately, I believe NBC and the ABC station did get bought out by Hearst Corporation recently. But there's no shame in being owned by a big company. But it was just kind of one of those last bastions of independent news. Like a station like WGN in Chicago has been in and out of independency. So it's very unique, and it allows you to. The station forces you, like being independent, to develop more work and be more creative in your work for every show that you do, because you don't get to rely on having network packages. Very rarely would they use from CNN or maybe whatever mother station like NBC News, for example. But for these other stations that are owned by Sinclair or Gray or Hearst or wherever, Nexstar, for example, typically they will have packages that the company will want them to air.
Yeah, and of course, ABC7 and NBC2 in Southwest Florida part of Waterman Broadcasting, so you would have potentially people work both channels.
Yes, and then the unique thing is when you work for a station that owns more than one networks, like Waterman did, you work on both networks. So I would typically, like if I was working Friday, I would typically direct the 3 o'clock show. I would TD, which is basically pressing all the big, beautiful buttons at 4 o'clock. And then 5 o'clock, I would technically have a break, but I would prep for the half hour 6 o'clock show that was on ABC. So I would typically do 3, 4, 6, and then I would do ABC 11. Or no, I would actually do NBC 11 for punching. It kind of changed. But I would only direct the 3 and the 6. And then weekends were weekends. You're basically killing time. It's a great job to have if you don't like doing work, because it's like being a fireman is the best way I can describe working in local news. And, there's the breaking news element where we just got to get on the air because there's a severe weather storm warning that we need to get on the air and warn people about. But a lot of the time it's just hurry up and wait for the shows to start. And, there's a lot of downtime. There's a lot of people eating McDonald's, playing on their Nintendo Switch, watching college football on a Saturday. That's what we did. And on Sundays was Red Zone Day because, our shift would be 1:30 to 2 o'clock, and the show wouldn't be till 6:30 at night. And it was only a half-hour show. And then after that at 11, it was still another half-hour show. So it was an hour of work, and you're there for almost 10 hours. But we needed to be there because you never know if there's going to be a severe weather warning and, a tornado pops up or a severe storm surge, and we need to be on the air to let people know.
Or if an airplane crashes on the road.
Yeah, God forbid, exactly.
Or a 9-letter word that's hit here a few times. Oh wait, we'll mention that in a minute. But do you think that all these streaming packages, whether it be Amazon, YouTube, what's the Netflix, help or hurt the audience? Because now instead of watching games, whether it be on Red Zone, you actually have to pay more. You're paying for like 8 different streaming platforms.
Did you see the whole Apple price tag for Sunday Ticket? I heard it's like $650 or something this year to get it.
Good grief.
And then if you want Red Zone on top of it, it's like $730. I think this was like reported by NBC Sports. So, it wasn't like one of those fake Facebook pages. I think it had some credible reporting. But if that's the case, I really think that, 10 years ago, streaming was really good for sports and for the common man who didn't want to pay the cable package with the phone and the internet. It was just a great way. And I just think that over time that, these companies need to make money, and this is how they see their ticket. And the cost of sports rights are just getting astronomical. I don't know what the latest one, it was NBA, right? It was the latest major league that was up for auction. And the deals are in the billions of dollars. And the only way you can really pay for that is through advertising revenue and by making huge enormous costs for your services. The college football deals are astronomical, and I know we live in the day and age of NIL, but at the same time, these guys are not being paid a traditional way like I do. Like they don't get a full-time salary with benefits. They have some benefits, and they get a free meal pass maybe, or however the regulations work. But it's really more the business is just constantly evolving. And I don't know where we're going to be in 20 years, if we're going to just have one network or what that looks like. But at the same time, when you're paying for these major rights, you're also got to pay for the people that work the rights. And that's kind of where we're seeing the biggest cut in our industry, is that COVID has ended for the most part, and people don't really quarantine anymore, but we still do a lot of remote work. There is still a ton of remote broadcasts. little story for you, Dylan. This summer, I got to work a little graphics for the basketball tournament, TBT, the million dollar take it all tournament. And I was in a control room in Charlotte, North Carolina, doing graphics for a game in Indianapolis at the Hinkle Fieldhouse. While the cam ops are on site, the producers in Cincinnati watching the whole thing. Like, that's just kind of the business that we're in. A lot of these packaging companies, and a way to save costs is not pay for travel. That saves a couple $100 for every person, and then the hotel is a couple $100 more. So that's just a way to save costs and make a higher quality product. It's a unique way of doing broadcasting. You got to have strong internet at your own house sometimes, but I do miss the face-to-face aspect. I think you would agree that the best thing that we love about what we do is the camaraderie and the team dynamic. It's literally like playing the team sport that we're broadcasting.
Yeah, I mean, even during hockey season, hockey or spring training. I love talking with journalists for the other team or some of the beat writers, or even talking with the broadcasters for the other team. There's something about a face-to-face conversation, and who wants to hear somebody chat over a Zoom call anyway? We did plenty. I did my whole senior of high school and master's program using Zoom. I could figure out Zoom.
Oh yeah, that's why we're not on Zoom.
No, actually, I prefer stream. Most of my friends either perform.
I will say though, it's convenient for what we do at Queens, because our control room is centrally located in the basketball volleyball arena, and our soccer field also hosts lacrosse and rugby. That facility is about 10-15 minutes down the road. And then our baseball softball stadium is actually located near the Charlotte airport, which is about a 40-minute drive with traffic from our center. So there's a lot of unique challenges that come with, moving stuff, making sure we have the right type of equipment where we're at, operations wise. But at the same time, we communicate through our cell phones to our people on site. There isn't like a hardcore, headset combination that you might be used to, Dylan, and people that work in our industry are used to. Everything's done through internet. Everything's done through cell phones now.
Yeah. I mean, what would we do without iPhones? Because back, I didn't even use the cell phone until recently. Now, if you leave the house without a cell phone, you're not doing well.
You just transport back to 1973. That's all.
Oh gosh.
You remember that year?
No, I don't.
I couldn't even tell you what happened in 1973. I would try to think of a song. Maybe
the Oakland A's won the
made a good album. I can't remember.
The Oakland A's beat the New York Mets in the World Series.
Oh, is that Catfish Hunter?
Oh
no, Raleigh Fingers maybe. It's definitely Raleigh. I get those two guys confused. Same mustache. Well, Raleigh rolled his fin. You're right, because Raleigh, yeah, but two great mustaches.
Yeah, now the Oakland A's are going to be in Sacramento next year.
Yeah, I saw a report. This is how I get away with being journalistically absent and ignorant. Just say I saw a report. I'm not reporting. I saw a report. But I did see a report that I heard that the Athletics are charging a duo season ticket, that you have to, if you want season tickets for the Athletics, you also have to buy tickets for the AAA team, the River Cats, that plays in the same stadium. I'm not sure if it's the same stadium, but I think they got to be. Like, how many other baseball stadiums are major league ready in Sacramento?
The Oakland A's are just nuts. I mean, the owner is nuts.
It's interesting because it's one of those he said, she said, and who knows what the real truth is. Because you have the commissioner of baseball siding with the ownership group and saying that the city of Oakland didn't make an offer, didn't want to help out in any way, and then the city going back and saying, no, we did. We have all these proposals. You guys just turned it down. It's one of those unfortunate situations, but I feel bad for the fans of Oakland. I will not be surprised if there is some sort of independent baseball team that is formed in the city of Oakland in some capacity, even if they might be some affiliation with the minor league system. And apologies, I would not be surprised if that team gets more higher attendance than the real Athletics. It's the thing about the Athletics is that it's the Las Vegas Athletics of Sacramento, Oakland, California. It's rolls off the tongue.
And in a way, the city of Oakland has been left in the dust because the Golden State Warriors are in San Francisco, the Oakland Raiders are in Vegas, and now the A's will be in Sacramento before Vegas.
Did you know originally that the San Francisco Giants were going to be the team that went to Tampa Bay before they became an expansion?
In 92, and then the owner bought the team, kept the Giants in San Francisco, and then signed Barry Bonds.
I mean, that's the craziest thing about it is that the fans went from not knowing they would have a team next year to having a 5-star or 5-caliber with a 5-tool athlete, and then that man became the greatest hitter, barring some minor help. But I am of the opinion that steroids don't really help your eyesight. You still got to follow the ball because there's some people that we know that are big dudes and have trouble with the ball. We see you, Joey Gallo. I don't mean any disrespect, but you're a swing merchant and you either hit the ball far or you don't hit the ball at all.
Oh, by the way, I think Aaron Judge hit another home run.
Were they down 5 runs? I know that's like kind of the joke right now is that Aaron.
I think it was the first inning.
Okay, well, that's good. I did see the stat that he was the fastest to 300 home runs, but the thing that I think a lot of people forget is that he made his major league debut late, in like his age. Didn't he only make it at like 23 or 24, right? Or I had that completely wrong.
Yeah, Judge went to Fresno State.
Yeah, did he play 4 years or did he leave halfway? Because that's the thing about Aaron Judge. He's one of the few guys that I got to had the pleasure of seeing play minor league baseball in Syracuse when he was part of the Scranton. It was him and Clint Frazier were like the 2 big hitter prospects. Guys from like my hometown team that I got to see every day were like Trey Turner, now the Phillies. We used to call him Bay Turner, because he was Bay because he just stole bags, got on base, scored runs. Victor Robles was another great outfielder who is now killing it with the Mariners after being DFA'd. So it's so fascinating how just a change of scenery in baseball just changes a person's mindset.
Yeah, and then who would think a guy who was at Fresno State could hit 62 home runs?
Go Bulldogs!
So obviously, both of us were here when Hurricane Ian hit.
Yes.
Nearly 2 years ago, and I'm sure that would have been crazy for you. What did you have any Did you have any assignments during the storm?
So we kind of went into emergency mode with the news station. I was at Waterman at the time, and essentially how it worked was I remember because the storm hit on a Wednesday, right? Yeah, so it was Wednesday. My shift was Friday to Monday, 4 10-hour days. So I got hosed, right? I had to work a full weekend. And then Tuesday, were like, everyone's on call. And I just made the call. I was like, and I also had to help out on Tuesdays all the time because we were short staffed at the moment. So I had to come in on Tuesdays and help out. And, I remember my boss saying that, oh, you guys can drive in tomorrow, but there is the option to stay over. And I'm like, why would anyone where we live with all those bridges and all the heavy winds that were coming for a Category 5 storm, why would we risk driving in, right? And some people did, and they almost got stuck and almost got in serious trouble, safety wise. Like they almost came very close to the hurricane damage, but my responsibilities were basically keeping us on the air and listening to whatever the producer wants. It's a very much like jazz because that's another reason why I got a local news is that it was too structured for me. There wasn't the ability to think on your feet. There wasn't really challenging. It was just you knew what was coming 5 stories from now. Everything is documented. Everything's formatted, even by the second. With like this story's 20 seconds, and then the next story is 40 seconds. Like everything is so structured and organized that when you get to this moment where it's time to improvise, some people do well and some people don't do well. And working in sports for 5-6 years to that point already, that played in my wheelhouse immediately. Just what do you want? Oh, you want this and this monitor, and then this video and another monitor, and oh, I can build a triple box for you off the fly. It was great, and you got to see like who knew what they were doing and who was struggling, and it was a very scary time for a lot of us. Some of my crew members, were breaking down just because as soon as the hurricane hit, we lost all power and lost all ability to communicate with the outside world. And we're kind of forced to work 12-hour shifts just to keep everyone on the air because there might be someone who does have cable that we have to do this. And, there's also federal regulations that mandate us being on the air for all this time. And we were the lucky ones in the grand scheme of it. Some people had some minor car damage, but unfortunately our friends at Wink News, which is the CBS station that I also used to work for, they completely went off the air. So how their building is located in Fort Myers is, they're a stone's throw away from the water. And it's a nice, beautiful location, but with that storm surge, their entire first floor flooded to about waist high level. All their equipment was gone. All their cables were gone. And unfortunately, there was an electrical fire in the building during the hurricane. And apparently they had to be evacuated through our wonderful paramedics and fire rescue teams that we have in Fort Myers, and had to be rescued in groups of 8 and like sheltered in like some air base or whatever. They were in the middle of nowhere, like Cape Coral, I want to say. And the poor people had to do shows with like whiteboards. Like the meteorologists were writing the 7-day in expo marker and saying it's going to be fine here. And it's just the night and day difference between their coverage and our coverage when, we were very lucky and fortunate that we didn't lose anything. We didn't lose power. We had good generators. We had crews on the road. And, the first time we saw that aerial footage of Sanibel Island just getting wiped off the face of the earth was just like heartbreaking. And that's like one of the hardest days of work I've ever had, was just seeing the footage that people don't see. We don't show the worst of the worst. There was, some very unfortunate things that were caught on video, and we have to make sure that we're watching it with strong detail so we're not putting viewers at a risk.
Was there, what was the tension in the building when you saw, when it kept showing every monitor in moving more south? Not the storm moving south, but the track moving more south and coming toward southwest.
So that's the most interesting thing about this, is that all the modules, including those from like the National Weather Service, had this storm going like towards Tampa, right? And the best meteorologist I've ever met, which I know is a strong word to say best, but John Patrick of ABC7, who, wins every award for Southwest Florida meteorology, and for good reason, his module had it hitting Cape Coral dead on the whole time.
That would be, yeah, Carol
reported because he didn't want to send people into a mass panic, but when he was confident in the module, he went on the air very early before the hurricane hit. I think it was 2-3 days, and he was telling people, you need to leave. You need to bunker down, leave, bunker your house down, get out while you can, because this is coming for Cape Coral. And good old Rob Duns of NBC2 was doing the same thing once his modules were doing this, because that's the very unique thing of working in a dual station, is that they have their own equipment and they don't they're technically competing against each other if you really think about it. in the ratings battle. It's everyone wants to be part of the Waterman family, but at the same time, these guys are fighting each other to be who's more right, who's more accurate, who gets the higher ratings. And at a certain point, when the hurricane comes, it's not about ratings anymore. It's about keeping people safe, letting people know what the information is, and making sure that information is accurate. And John Patrick had it from like Friday, I want to say, and the storm hit on Wednesday. That's how good his stuff is.
Why did more people evacuate? Did they just think the storm was going to Tampa? Or they're like, I've been here so many.
It's really what as you were saying. I talked, so obviously I didn't grow up in the area, but a lot of my crew members did. And there is just a lot of people that were just ignorant because of previous hurricanes. And it's not like there wasn't a recent hurricane. I believe like Maria was like the most recent strong hurricane. Maybe there's another one. I can't really remember. What would you say?
Yeah, Irma hit.
Irma, that's right too.
2017.
What's it up with these I-named hurricanes? I think we need to banish. It's like why hotels don't have a 13th floor. We need to banish the letter I.
We need to ban the letter I because it's bad.
Also, I don't know how many I names you can have. They were running short.
Where's Indigo next?
Ithaca?
Where's Indigo?
Oh, Indigo. There you go. Indigo. That's a good one. Ira was another big hurricane I remember. Ira and Ida or something. I don't know.
Yeah, Ida hit Louisiana.
Yeah. It's fascinating how they do that. Did you know it's kind of like the Maui tournament that they know the names of like hurricanes in like 2029 already? It's amazing how much effort these people put into like something that's so arbitrary as a name of a hurricane. Like the hurricane knows, like, I didn't want to be called Ian. I want to be called Jacob. Like, these hurricanes don't have feelings. Why do we got to name them?
I mean, used to hurricanes weren't even named. It wasn't until I think like the 40s or late 40s, early 50s when hurricanes were named, because you'd always hear nicknames: the Great Miami Hurricane, the Galveston Hurricane, the Labor Day Hurricane.
And it got confusing how many times there is a Great Miami Hurricane or a Great Galveston Hurricane because that's all they get hit with.
Well, I mean, Tampa's been in 103 years.
Mm-hmm.
Which is crazy.
They are the lightning capital of the world, though.
Yeah, it's fun. Fun. At least you don't have to worry about storm surge in Charlotte. But
it's funny you say that because we did get hit by the latest hurricane. I forget the name.
Debbie.
Yeah, Debbie actually did some major damage because it wasn't the rain, but it was the wind, and we had multiple tornadoes touch down. I think, unfortunately, some people lost their lives to these great natural disasters. But, like, Charlotte got smoked by this, and it was only an hour or so, but the entire trip to work that day, every streetlight was out, and when I mean out, like, no power whatsoever, not even flashing. So people were just flying in like drenching rain, water all over the road, going 50 and a 35 with no streetlights. It's a miracle that no one got in major car accidents.
And you're like, I'm used to this.
Yeah, honestly, I felt like I was at home.
I mean, you're like, I've done this once before, so.
Yeah, it's just all about having your hazards on, going 10 miles below the speed limit. If you feel like your tires are going, then you slow down. But you don't brake. You don't brake. You steer into the skid.
It's like you're driving on ice, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's the worst time I've ever had to drive. I was like a Christmas in Syracuse at one time, and I had to go 5 miles per hour down the road. And I lived like maybe 5 miles away from where I was staying, and it took me almost an hour to get home. Well, that makes sense because 5 miles per hour. I'm a genius still. Did you know that? I kid the audience. I just realized how stupid it sounded to say, yeah, I live 5 miles down the road. It took me an hour to get home because I was going 5 miles per hour.
Was it snow? Was it ice?
It
Or
was all snow, not plowed because it was Christmas, so the plow trucks were, enjoying their Christmas festivities, and also it was a lake road. It wasn't like a main drag. Obviously, the main drags get plowed and have higher precedent over a back road near the lake. Um, but yeah, the snow was probably 6 inches deep at that point.
do you have
It
cross?
was
Could you
you
have
can see
cross
the
country?
top of your wheels maybe, so maybe not 6 inches, but
Could you have cross country skied?
I did not. Cross country C is for people that love torture and torturing themselves. Nah, it is such an endurance, man. It's crazy. It's as hard as like doing Ironman. I don't know how people do it. There's a lot of people that cross country skied on the frozen lakes in Syracuse. There's a lot of snowmobilers as well. I never was a big winter guy. There's a reason why I don't live in Syracuse anymore, and I moved to Florida for a little bit. I have not seen snow in many years, and I don't intend to see snow anytime soon.
So now you're in Charlotte, North Carolina, rival of DCU. So I mean, sports season starting right around the corner for you. So what are you gonna have coming up soon?
Yes, so we this summer just went under a major renovation cosmetically for a control room. We have two big windows so people can see what we do on a daily basis. Um, it's getting used to, but I understand why we have to do this because people find what we do fascinating, and any way that we can show the what's the term, magician behind the curtain, or something, show whatever is behind the curtain type of thing from the Wizard of Oz. uh that's always a great thing for fans of the sport, boosters of the sport, boosters of the university, and then also prospective students that are coming to the university and touring and showing what facilities we have. So we're in the process of finishing putting the control room back together because every cable needs a home, and there's a lot of cables that go through that bad boy. So we had our first women's soccer match last Thursday, and that was all one camera streams through uh, our athletics website, and then we're hoping that starting in September we'll be on ESPN Plus. We do, I believe the number is 17 sports. I don't know. I believe that might be the total sports that we cover or the sports that are on ESPN, but there are about 28 varsity sports at the moment at Queens Athletics. Um, we're in the third year of our transition to the D1, Division One, and we remember the ASUN conference. So as Dylan alluded to, we face Florida Gulf Coast often. We beat Florida Gulf Coast often, especially in the conference tournament in men's basketball back-to-back years. Pat Chambers needs some help.
Don't remind me.
And it's a fun job. There's always a game going. We average, once we're in season with these fall sports, because we'll have the fall sports. We have men's and women's soccer, women's volleyball, men's and women's swim, men's and women's rugby. All those sports going on at the same time. On top of the sports that we don't cover, like track and field, or it would be more cross country in the fall. Um, and then there's other sports that are playing spring or fall ball, right? Because like baseball and softball will play fall sports. We'll play a little fall ball exhibitions, and golf plays a little bit as well. And we also have a triathlon team that finished second in nationals this year. There's so much sports going on at Queens that it's like intoxicating, and it's like when I get home from work, I'm like, the last thing I want to do is see a ball bounce. I want to go watch like a dumb YouTube video and just go to brain rot mode. But I enjoy it. I enjoy working at Queens. Our biggest thing coming up is we have the Queens Fall Classic, which is a big women's volleyball tournament. That's in about 2 weeks, and all those games, including the games that are not involving Queens, will be on the Plus. And that is huge for us, and that's like a big moment of pride for us because we have most schools, when they host these types of tournaments, they don't show teams that aren't theirs, right? Because it's just not worth it to them. But that's how we are, and that's how we like to be different. That we're going to be the best of the best in the conference, and we try to be the best of the best in the state. And that's a lot to ask for because we have schools like Charlotte, North Carolina, Duke, Wake Forest, NC State, all in our backyard. So that's why we try to be as competitive as we can and put on the highest quality broadcast as we can with the resources that we got. So we have that big tournament, Queens Fall Classic, and then the weekend following, we have a co-tournament hosting with UNC Charlotte. So they'll play games at their arena, I believe, or I think all the games are played at our arena. UNC Charlotte and Queens will not play each other, but they're all playing the same teams. And then down the line, it has been officially announced by the conference that we are doing the media days for both men's and women's basketball. So that will be on site in the Levine Center in Queens in Charlotte, North Carolina on October 14th. And that will air at ESPN at a time to be determined. So there is a lot of stuff going on in the broadcasting side of things at Queens Athletics.
Yeah. By the way, the women's volleyball team will play FGCU here on September 27th, and then FGCU travels to Charlotte on November 3rd.
Yes. And I'm sure Dylan knows this, but FGCU women's volleyball is looking to defend their conference championship from last year.
Yeah, Coach Botsford and company.
They were very impressive when they came to Queens. That's like the toughest thing about watching our teams right now is that they're still transitioning. We're still getting new bodies and D1 bodies, and we're transitioning from the D2 to the D1. Queens historically was very good in a lot of sports at the D2 level. I believe the swimming program won multiple national titles in consecutive years, men's and women's sides. Our men's basketball team historically made the tournament for D2 every year, has multiple regional final awards, never won the full thing, but, I'm very hoping that once this postseason ban is over in 2 years, that you'll see Queens basketball be playing on a Tuesday night in Dayton, Ohio, and winning a game against like Morehead State or Long Island University or whoever. We have a very fun basketball team. Our men's team is very fun to watch. Dylan does not like watching them because they beat his team all the time. But they play fast. They think they were top 30 in the Ken Pom pace of player rating. Like it's fun as a director, but it's also challenging as someone who works in television because that means you can't really show people running back and showing who scored the buckets because we've already inbounded the ball. We might even have a shot up on the bucket already by the time we're going back to the live feed.
All right, Jacob. Thanks for hopping on, and hopefully, we see Hopefully, Queens College and FGC battle it out in many different sports this season.
I'm looking forward to it, Dylan. Thank you so much for having me on your podcast.